In a world where the struggles of everyday life often overshadow the mysteries of existence, one man's near-death experience unveils a profound truth that could change everything we believe about life, death, and what lies beyond. What if the key to understanding our purpose and the future of our nation lies in a single moment between life and death? Join us as we delve into the incredible story of Daniel, a man who, after facing the brink of eternity, receives a divine warning that challenges not only his faith but the very soul of America. Prepare to be captivated by a tale of resilience, redemption, and a call to spiritual awakening. Can one voice truly ignite a nationwide movement of hope? Stay tuned to discover the answer. If you found Daniel's story inspiring and believe in the power of faith and hope, don't forget to show your support. Hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos that explore extraordinary journeys and spiritual awakenings. Like this video if it resonated with you, and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or your own experiences with faith and spirituality. We love hearing from you. And remember to share this video with your friends and family. Let's spread this message of hope and unity far and wide. Together, we can inspire a movement of love and understanding. Thank you for being a part of our community. The sun poured its warm golden light over Trinity Baptist Church, casting a soft glow on its weathered stone exterior and the small garden that surrounded the entrance. Despite its beauty, the once thriving church now stood quiet, its sanctuary filled with only a handful of devoted worshipers. Pastor Daniel Harper, a 48-year-old man with kind eyes and a face marked by years of dedication, stood at the pulpit, gazing out at the empty pews. A heavy weight settled in his chest, reflecting the somber mood of the space around him. Daniel had dedicated his life to this congregation, pouring his heart into sermons meant to uplift and inspire. But today, as he thought about the dwindling numbers, he felt an unsettling emptiness within himself, a void that seemed to mirror the spiritual decline he sensed in the nation. Conversations among his congregation had shifted from discussions about faith and hope to chatter about material success, a troubling trend that gnawed at his soul. Where had the passion for spirituality gone? Just then, his wife, Grace Harper, approached him with a warm, reassuring smile. Grace was the unwavering rock in his turbulent sea of doubt, her faith strong and true. She sensed her husband's internal battle but believed wholeheartedly that he would find his way back to God. "You're not alone in this, Daniel. Look at the light still shining in our community," she encouraged, her voice a gentle comfort. Daniel nodded, though deep down, he felt an ache that went beyond mere concern for his church. He saw a nation slipping away from its moral roots, a country increasingly divided by strife and materialism. In his quiet prayers, he cried out to God for a sign, any sign, that hope still existed for America. He longed for direction, clarity amid the growing chaos. In the back of the church, Elder Samuel Hughes, a wise and steadfast figure in the community, watched Daniel with a mix of concern and determination. Samuel represented the old guard, those who clung tightly to the beliefs that had sustained them through countless trials. He approached Daniel and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Faith is a journey, Pastor. Sometimes we must navigate the darkness to truly appreciate the light," he said, his voice steady and filled with conviction. As the two men talked, Jessica Reynolds, a struggling single mother who had been attending the church sporadically, stepped through the doors. The weight of the world rested heavily on her shoulders as she fought to provide for her young daughter, while feeling lost in a society that seemed to have turned away from God. The despair in her eyes reflected the confusion and spiritual thirst many felt throughout the nation. "Pastor, I don't know where to turn anymore," Jessica admitted, her voice shaking with vulnerability. Daniel's heart ached for her. He wanted to offer her hope, but he too felt adrift in a sea of uncertainty. As the day wore on, Daniel retreated to his office, seeking solace in prayer. He knelt by his desk, surrounded by the faint scent of old books that lingered in the air. With every fiber of his being, he pleaded with God for guidance. "Lord, show me the path. Help me understand what is happening in our world. How can I lead when I feel so lost?" Outside, the vibrant life of Austin continued, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in the heart of the church. Daniel felt the weight of the world upon him, and for the first time in years, he doubted the very essence of his calling. "Please, Lord," he whispered, "I need your guidance." Little did he know, this desperate plea would set off a series of events that would challenge his faith, unravel the fabric of his life, and ultimately reveal the profound spiritual crisis facing not just him, but the nation as a whole. The evening air was thick with silence as Pastor Daniel Harper found himself alone in the sanctuary of Trinity Baptist Church. The only sounds were the faint rustle of pages from his Bible and the gentle creaking of the wooden pews. He had been pouring his heart out in prayer, pleading for guidance amid his growing doubts, when suddenly a sharp pain pierced his chest. Not now, he thought, trying to shake off the discomfort. But the pain intensified, stealing his breath away. Panic surged through him as he collapsed to the floor, the world fading into darkness. Minutes later, he found himself in the sterile surroundings of St. David's Medical Center. Bright lights flickered overhead and medical personnel hurried around him, their voices a blur of urgency. As they worked frantically to revive him, something extraordinary was happening. For 12 minutes, Daniel was clinically dead. In that profound stillness, his soul drifted away from his body, drawn into a realm bathed in radiant light. The heaviness of the world fell away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of peace. It felt as if he was being enveloped in love itself. In this ethereal space, time seemed to stretch and bend. Moments felt like lifetimes, and Daniel was no longer bound by the struggles of earthly existence. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the light. Jesus. He stood before Daniel, exuding warmth, authority, and a compassion that filled the very air around them. Daniel felt a rush of emotions: joy, fear, and an inexplicable familiarity. It was as if he had come home. "Daniel," Jesus said, his voice a gentle thunder that resonated deep within Daniel's soul. "You have been given a second chance, but it comes with a critical mission." Daniel's heart, or what remained of it in the spiritual realm, raced with a mix of awe and trepidation. "What do you mean?" he asked, struggling to find his voice in this heavenly atmosphere. "America is at a crossroads," Jesus replied, his gaze piercing yet kind. "The path of spiritual neglect and moral decay leads to destruction. You must return and warn your people. Spiritual renewal is the only way to save this nation." As the weight of Jesus' words sank in, Daniel was shown visions of two possible futures for America. One was filled with chaos, cities in turmoil, families torn apart, and souls wandering in darkness. The other painted a picture of peace, hope, and revival, a nation united in faith, where love and compassion reigned. The contrast was stark, and Daniel could feel the urgency pulsing around him. "Choose wisely, Daniel," Jesus emphasized, his eyes radiating understanding. "The choices of your people matter. They have the power to shape the future." In that moment, Daniel felt the weight of responsibility heavy upon him. His heart, once filled with doubt, now pulsed with purpose. But just as quickly, the warmth of the realm began to fade, and he felt himself being pulled back, away from the divine presence. "No!" he cried out, instinctively reaching for Jesus, desperate to hold on to this sacred encounter. But the light grew distant, and soon he was enveloped in darkness once again. Daniel awoke in a hospital bed, the beeping of machines and the chatter of nurses breaking the stillness. Panic rose within him as he gasped for breath, the reality of his situation crashing over him like a tidal wave. "You're back with us, Pastor," a nurse said, her eyes filled with concern. "You had us worried there for a moment." But Daniel wasn't fully present in the room. The visions, the warnings, the profound message from Jesus echoed in his mind like a persistent drumbeat. As he lay there, his heart racing, he realized that this experience was not just a brush with death, it was a divine calling. "I have to warn them," he thought fervently, the realization igniting a fire within him. The stakes were high, and the burden of his mission pressed heavily on his shoulders. With every beat of his heart, Daniel knew he had been given a second chance, not just for himself, but for America. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was determined to share the message he had received from Jesus. He would do whatever it took to bring hope back to his people. As Pastor Daniel Harper lay in his hospital bed, a deep sense of urgency settled in his heart. The powerful visions given to him by Jesus swirled through his mind, vivid and insistent, revealing two distinct futures for America. Each vision painted a contrasting picture of the nation's fate, one grim and chaotic, the other bright and hopeful. First came the dark path, a haunting vision that played out before him like a grim movie. Daniel soared above major cities, witnessing the turmoil unfolding below. In New York, once a beacon of hope and ambition, scenes of violence erupted in the streets. The towering buildings that had stood tall now cast long shadows over a population gripped by fear. People hurried through the streets, their faces twisted with anger and despair. Greed and corruption ruled, with individuals fixated solely on their material desires. The vibrant spirit of the city had faded, replaced by a pervasive darkness that engulfed everything. It was as if the very soul of America was gasping for breath. Next, his vision shifted to Los Angeles, where the glitz and glamour of the entertainment industry had become a facade hiding deeper issues. Daniel watched as media outlets spread messages of division, promoting values that clashed with the teachings of God. The streets, once alive with creativity and dreams, were now filled with superficiality and desperation. People chased fleeting pleasures, believing that happiness could be found in fame and fortune. In their pursuit, they had lost sight of what truly mattered: connection, faith, and love. Finally, his gaze turned to Austin, his own city, a place of innovation and cultural richness. Yet even here, Daniel saw the struggle between modern progressivism and traditional values. The city buzzed with ideas, but many had turned away from faith, seeking answers in everything but God. Communities that once stood united in love and support were now fractured, each group vying for its version of truth. It was a microcosm of America, reflecting the broader cultural and moral dilemmas facing the nation. Then, the vision shifted. The despair gave way to light as Jesus guided Daniel to a more hopeful future, the hopeful path. Here he witnessed a transformation unlike anything he had ever imagined. Churches, once struggling to fill their pews, burst with life and joy. Families gathered in fellowship, sharing their lives and faith with one another. Walls of division crumbled as people from all walks of life united in prayer and purpose. Daniel saw individuals reaching out to one another, offering help, love, and understanding. "This is what I long for," Jesus spoke, his voice filled with warmth. "A nation that seeks me, where love prevails over hate and faith over fear." In this vision, America flourished under a spiritual awakening. Communities embraced one another, casting aside their differences. Children learned the values of compassion and kindness, and families thrived in an environment where faith guided their choices. It was a place where hope blossomed, and every soul sought a deeper connection with God. The contrasting visions left Daniel awash with emotions, creating a deep sense of suspense within him. How could he convey the urgency of these revelations? The burden of knowing both possible futures weighed heavily on his heart. He could see the beauty of what could be, but the specter of despair loomed large if the nation continued on its current trajectory. What path will America choose? He pondered, feeling the immense responsibility settle on his shoulders. With each vision, Daniel understood that the future was not set in stone. It was shaped by the choices of individuals, families, and communities. The ambiguity of these paths kept his heart racing, each day further igniting his resolve to share the message he had received from Jesus. As he lay in the hospital, he knew he had to return to his congregation, to awaken the hearts of the people, to inspire them to choose the path of hope and love before it was too late. "I have to do this," Daniel vowed to himself, his spirit aflame with determination. The road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to be a vessel for the divine truth he had witnessed. Daniel awoke suddenly, gasping for breath as the sterile smell of the hospital room surrounded him. The bright lights felt blinding, but the warmth of the sun filtering through the blinds brought an unexpected sense of comfort. He was back, alive and breathing, but forever changed. His heart raced with the weight of the revelations he had just experienced. The vision of Apostle Paul lingered in his mind, echoing with the urgency of the message he had been given. He had seen the potential futures for America, one steeped in chaos and despair, the other illuminated by faith and unity. As he lay in the hospital bed, memories of the encounter flooded his thoughts. "Your faith can inspire a movement," Paul had said, urging him to be a beacon of hope. The mission was clear, but doubt crept in. Would he truly have the strength to follow through? Just then, the door swung open, and Grace, his beloved wife, rushed in, her eyes filled with relief. "Daniel, thank God you're awake." She hurried to his side, grasping his hand tightly. "I was so worried. They said you were gone for 12 minutes. I prayed and prayed for you." Looking into Grace's eyes, Daniel felt a surge of gratitude. "I had an experience, Grace, a life-changing one." He took a deep breath, trying to find the words to convey the weight of his vision. "I met Jesus and then Apostle Paul. They showed me the future of our country. Grace's brow furrowed with concern. "What do you mean? What did they say?" Daniel sat up straighter, the adrenaline coursing through him. "They showed me two paths for America. One leads to chaos and despair if we continue down the road of greed and division. The other, if we return to our spiritual roots, is filled with hope and revival." His voice trembled with urgency. "I need to warn people, Grace. I have to help them see the truth." Tears glistened in Grace's eyes. "Daniel, you've always been a shepherd to your flock. If anyone can inspire change, it's you." She squeezed his hand tighter, offering him a lifeline of support. "But I can't do it alone," Daniel confessed, his heart heavy with the enormity of the task. "I'll need the congregation's help, and they may not want to hear this." Grace nodded, her expression resolute. "You've always taught them about faith and love. Remind them of the strength that comes from unity. You have to trust in your mission." Suddenly, Daniel felt a surge of clarity. "You're right. I can't let fear stop me. I must share what I learned." He glanced around the room, taking in the starkness of the hospital setting. This place, once a backdrop to his near-death experience, now felt like a sacred ground of renewal. "We have to gather the congregation," he said, excitement bubbling in his chest. "I'll tell them everything, the visions, the warning, the hope. We can bring revival to our community." Grace smiled, her faith unwavering. "I'll help you, Daniel. We can organize a special service, invite everyone, and you can share your experience. They need to hear this." In that moment, Daniel felt a wave of hope wash over him. He had been given a second chance, not just at life, but at fulfilling his purpose. "Thank you, Grace. I can't do this without you." As he prepared to rise from the bed, he felt a renewed sense of determination. He would not allow complacency to cloud his mission. "Let's bring the congregation together and light a fire of faith in their hearts." With Grace by his side, Daniel knew they could ignite a movement. As they began planning for the upcoming service, his heart swelled with hope. The journey ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it. The spirit of revival was alive within him, and he was determined to guide his community back to the path of light and faith. As Daniel lay in his hospital bed, a warm, comforting presence enveloped him. Suddenly, Jesus and Apostle Paul appeared before him, their faces radiating wisdom and compassion. They stood ready to share profound lessons about life, death, and what lies beyond our earthly existence. "Daniel," Jesus began, his voice soothing yet powerful, "life on earth is a brief journey, a preparation for the eternal existence that follows. What you chase in this world, wealth, fame, and power, holds no value in the spiritual realm." His words struck a deep chord within Daniel, igniting an understanding that felt almost revolutionary. "What truly matters," Apostle Paul chimed in, "are the acts of love, faith, and compassion you extend to others. These are the treasures that last." In that moment, Daniel was granted a vision of the afterlife. He saw a realm bathed in light and harmony, a place where those who lived with kindness and faith enjoyed peace and eternal growth. "Look closely," Jesus urged, guiding Daniel's gaze. Before him unfolded a scene filled with joy, people bathed in radiant light, their spirits alive with happiness, celebrating the love they had shared during their earthly lives. Laughter echoed through the air as friends and family reunited, sharing stories and cherishing the bonds they had nurtured. The beauty of this place contrasted sharply with the struggles of their lives on earth. Daniel recognized familiar faces from his congregation, people who had once been weighed down by worries now glowing with joy. Yet, alongside this radiant scene, Daniel witnessed the consequences faced by those who had turned away from God. "These souls," Paul explained, "experience regret and confusion in the afterlife, realizing too late the impact of their choices." The images filled Daniel's heart with urgency. The need for spiritual renewal was palpable. He saw individuals wandering in shadows, their faces marked by sorrow, reaching out desperately for the light, but remaining trapped in their spiritual blindness. As he absorbed these powerful lessons, a Bible verse echoed in his mind. "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Matthew 6:19-21. This message resonated deeply with him. How many times had he seen people in his church obsess over their jobs, cars, and status, all while neglecting the spiritual nourishment that truly fed their souls? But just as he thought he fully grasped the lessons before him, Jesus leaned in closer, a knowing smile illuminating his face. "There is one more revelation you must understand, Daniel. It is a deeper truth that will change everything." Those words sent a shiver down Daniel's spine. What could this new truth possibly be? The air thickened with anticipation, leaving him eager for the final revelation that lay ahead. "Stay vigilant, for the understanding you seek is near," Paul encouraged, his voice a blend of reassurance and mystery. With these thoughts swirling in his mind, Daniel felt a powerful sense of purpose ignite within him. He had been chosen not just to warn, but to enlighten others about the true essence of life and the significance of their choices. This journey was far from over. It was just the beginning of a deeper understanding of faith, love, and eternity. He envisioned himself returning to Trinity Baptist Church, standing before his congregation with newfound wisdom. He imagined sharing these revelations, guiding them toward a path of spiritual renewal. Imagine, he thought, a church vibrant with faith, where the congregation focuses not on worldly success but on serving one another and nurturing their spiritual growth. Yet doubts began to creep in. Would they listen? Would they embrace this call to deeper faith? "I must lead by example," he reminded himself, drawing strength from the lessons he was learning. "If I want them to seek spiritual wealth, I must first show them how." He recalled the faces of Jessica, Elder Samuel, and even his wife, Grace. He thought of their struggles and desires, their longing for something more profound than what this world offered. They too deserved to experience the love and peace of the afterlife, he resolved. With renewed determination, Daniel knew he had to prepare for what lay ahead. The spiritual lessons he was learning would not only change his life, but could potentially transform the lives of those around him. The path forward was clear. He must embrace his role as a messenger of hope and wisdom. "This is not just about me," he realized, "but about a nation searching for direction. It's about rekindling faith in hearts that have grown cold." As he gathered his resolve, Daniel felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over him. It was as if the very light surrounding Jesus and Paul flowed into him, filling him with hope and purpose. In the depths of his heart, he knew that despite the struggles ahead, he was not alone. With Jesus and Paul as his guides, he would venture forth with courage and conviction, ready to confront the challenges of a world in need of spiritual awakening. As the harsh, fluorescent lights of the hospital flickered on, Daniel gasped, pulling himself back from the brink of the abyss. His heart raced, not just from the shock of revival, but from a profound sense of purpose igniting within him. He felt as if he had been touched by something divine, a warmth that lingered in his soul, a reminder of the message he had to deliver. "I have to share this," he murmured, determination shining in his eyes. He knew that his experience in the afterlife was not just a personal journey, it was a mission entrusted to him by Jesus. Once back at Trinity Baptist Church, the familiar sounds of worship enveloped him. But Daniel felt transformed, as if reborn. Standing before the congregation, he could feel the weight of their hopes and struggles resting on his shoulders. This was his moment to inspire, to awaken their spirits, and to share the sacred message he had received. "I have a story to tell you," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "a story that carries hope, life beyond this one, and a warning from our Lord." Daniel painted a vivid picture of his near-death experience, sharing the remarkable visions bestowed upon him. He spoke about the two diverging paths facing America, one leading to chaos, division, and despair, and the other guiding toward love, unity, and spiritual awakening. He described the urgency of Jesus' message, a call for the nation to return to its spiritual roots. "We must prioritize love, faith, and unity over the seductive allure of material success," he urged, his voice rising with passion. In the audience, Jessica Reynolds, a longtime member of the church, felt her heart swell with renewed hope. She had often grappled with feelings of isolation and despair, but as Daniel spoke, she realized her struggles were not insurmountable. His words ignited a flicker of understanding within her. There was a greater purpose to her life, one rooted in faith and love. "The afterlife is real," Daniel continued, "and the choices we make on earth carry eternal consequences. We cannot afford to ignore this truth any longer." As he delivered his sermon, Daniel observed the shift in the atmosphere of the church. There was a palpable energy, a blend of hope, conviction, and a desire for spiritual growth filling the air. He invited everyone to embrace the transformative power of faith and to unite as a community ready to reignite their connection to God. Let us not forget the lesson of Matthew 6:19-21. "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Let us focus on our souls, our faith, and our community," he proclaimed, his eyes sparkling with fervor. As the service came to a close, members of the congregation gathered around Daniel, their hearts open and eager to connect. They expressed heartfelt gratitude for his honesty, many sharing their own stories of struggle and searching for purpose. Daniel felt a wave of warmth wash over him. This was what he had longed for, a community united in faith and love, ready to uplift one another. After the service, Jessica approached him, tears shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Daniel. Your words made me realize that my struggles aren't the end. They're just part of my journey. I want to be part of this revival." Daniel's heart swelled with pride and hope at her words. "Together, we can create a movement of love and faith that can change our community, and perhaps even our nation." In that moment, surrounded by the supportive embrace of his congregation, Daniel understood that this was just the beginning. His NDE had not only transformed him, but had ignited a spark in others, encouraging them to seek a deeper connection to God and to one another. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, but they would face them together, fueled by the message of love and faith that Daniel had shared. As he stepped out of the church that day, a profound sense of peace enveloped him. He was ready to fulfill his mission, to bring about spiritual revival, to lead others back to the heart of their faith, and to share the warnings of Jesus with unwavering courage. The journey would not be easy, but Daniel felt empowered to embrace it, guided by the lessons he had learned and the love he felt for his community. Daniel's powerful testimony spread across the nation like wildfire. It all began in Austin, where local news outlets reported on his extraordinary near-death experience, NDE. As word got out, larger media networks quickly picked up the story, intrigued by the heartfelt message that resonated with so many. Daniel's words reached beyond borders, sparking conversations in homes, coffee shops, and, most importantly, churches across America. As Daniel's story gained traction, churches experienced a remarkable revival. People who had drifted away from their faith began returning, feeling a deep yearning to reconnect with something greater. From New York to Los Angeles, and in cities big and small, pews filled with eager hearts looking for truth, guidance, and a fresh connection to God. Pastors and church leaders were inspired by Daniel's message. They organized revivals, creating an atmosphere brimming with hope and anticipation. At one lively gathering in Chicago, a pastor exclaimed, "There's a movement happening." His congregation was buzzing with excitement as they realized they were part of something much larger. People are hungry for spiritual truth, and we must feed that hunger. Daniel traveled from city to city, sharing his transformative experience and the urgent warning he received from Jesus. With every speech, he emphasized the importance of returning to spiritual values, urging listeners to prioritize love, compassion, and unity over division and material wealth. His passionate plea stirred the hearts of many, creating a collective desire for change. But along with this hope came a heavy message that hung in the air. As Daniel's message spread, he knew it was time to reveal the final, suspenseful part of Jesus' warning. During a particularly stirring sermon in Atlanta, he stood before a packed audience, feeling both excitement and trepidation. "There's a critical truth I must share with you all," Daniel began, his voice steady, yet filled with urgency. "Jesus warned me that if America does not turn back to faith, we will face a future filled with darkness and division. Our nation is at a crossroads, and our choices now will shape the generations to come." Silence enveloped the room as Daniel's words sunk in. Concern etched the faces of those gathered. "But," he continued, a spark of hope igniting in his voice, "there is still time for redemption. Through spiritual revival, we can reclaim our nation's heart and spirit. We can choose love over hatred, unity over division, and faith over fear." As he spoke, Daniel painted a vivid picture of what could be, a future where communities stood together, embracing one another despite their differences. The audience felt a flicker of hope ignite within them, sensing that they could be part of this transformative movement. In the weeks that followed, Daniel's message reverberated across the country, captivating not just believers, but also those searching for answers in tumultuous times. Inspired by his words, individuals began taking action, organizing community prayer meetings, outreach programs, and charitable initiatives. The desire to bring light into their communities became a powerful force. Local newspapers highlighted stories of individuals transformed by Daniel's message, motivating others to share their journeys of faith. Social media buzzed with encouragement, where hashtags like Us, Spiritual Revival, and Show Hope for America trended as people connected over shared experiences and dreams for a brighter future. Daniel realized that this movement was more than just his story. It had become a collective call to action, reminding each person that they had a role in bringing about change. As he watched communities come together in love and faith, he felt a deep sense of gratitude and responsibility. The movement surged forward, drawing in more individuals each day. Daniel's prophetic warning became a rallying cry, urging everyone to stand firm in their faith and actively contribute to the revival sweeping the nation. The hope ignited within him continued to grow, illuminating the path toward a united and spiritually enriched America. After another heartfelt sermon, Daniel stepped off the stage, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The journey ahead was daunting, filled with challenges and uncertainties, but he was ready to lead the charge. With every step, he felt Jesus' presence guiding him, reminding him that love and faith could conquer even the darkest of times. As Daniel continued to spread the powerful warning from Jesus, he found himself reflecting on the life-changing impact of his near-death experience, NDE. Each passing day brought new insights, and he realized that his mission went far beyond saving his own congregation. It was about igniting a nationwide spiritual revival that could transform hearts and lives across America. At Trinity Baptist Church, the atmosphere buzzed with hope. Week after week, the church overflowed with people eager to hear Daniel's inspiring message. Individuals from all walks of life, who once felt lost in doubt and fear, now gathered with a renewed sense of purpose. They no longer viewed death as a frightening end, but as a beautiful transition into a greater spiritual existence with God. Daniel's sermons emphasized the importance of living with intention and love. "Life is a precious gift," he would proclaim. "Our time here is a preparation for something greater. Let us live each day filled with love, compassion, and faith." The church pulsed with energy as hearts were lifted and spirits were renewed. Over time, stories of personal transformation began to emerge from within the congregation. One woman, Sarah, shared how she had been paralyzed by grief after losing her husband. Following one of Daniel's sermons, she discovered a renewed sense of purpose. "I realized that my husband isn't gone. He's just in a different place, waiting for me. I now live to honor his memory and spread love to others." Her story resonated deeply, inspiring many to see death through a lens of hope rather than despair. As the year drew to a close, Daniel stood before his congregation in his final sermon, filled with gratitude. "We are witnessing something remarkable together," he declared passionately. "We've become a family united by faith, love, and a shared vision for our future. The revival we've sparked is just the beginning." With the light of hope shining brightly, Daniel echoed the uplifting words of Romans 12:12. "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer." The congregation responded with a chorus of enthusiastic amens, their spirits soaring with his message. As Daniel gazed out at the sea of faces, some filled with tears of joy, others glowing with newfound strength, he felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. He understood that his mission was about more than just sharing warnings. It was about nurturing a community that embraced faith, compassion, and unity. The story of his NDE had evolved into a powerful movement, inspiring individuals across the nation to seek a deeper connection with God. News of the revival spread like wildfire, prompting churches everywhere to adopt similar messages of hope, weaving a rich tapestry of faith built on love. In that moment, Daniel felt a wave of assurance wash over him. He was part of something far larger than himself, a divine calling to help others navigate their spiritual journeys. He embraced his role as a guide, lighting the way for those searching for truth and meaning in their lives. As he wrapped up his sermon, Daniel encouraged his congregation to carry the message of hope into the world. "Let us be ambassadors of love and faith," he urged with heartfelt conviction. "Together, we can build a brighter future for America, one heart at a time." With the spirit of revival burning brightly within them, the congregation left the church that day with renewed purpose. Daniel knew that the journey ahead would not always be smooth, but with faith as their foundation, they could overcome any obstacle. The seeds of change had been sown, and he believed wholeheartedly that a new chapter was unfolding for America, one filled with hope, love, and an unshakable belief in the goodness of humanity. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Daniel's transformative experience. We hope his story has inspired you to reflect on your own beliefs and the power of faith in our lives. Remember, every moment is an opportunity for growth, love, and connection with others. As we face the challenges of life, let's hold on to the hope that unity and compassion can lead us to a brighter future. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more uplifting stories and insights. Until next time, keep seeking, keep believing, and keep spreading the message of love. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.